Okay, we're going. So
Right.
I guess we can start with the basic introduction one. It's like, what's your full name, your major, your year, and where are you from?
My name is Karim Mahfouz. My major is a big issue right now because I've changed that like 5 times in the past week. So
Yeah.
yeah, no kidding. I am from Egypt and I am technically still a freshman.
Okay. What? How did you come in? Like, what majors did you have in mind at first?
Oh my God. So I came in as an economics major, right? Economics and finance. And then I switched to linguistics and philosophy, no,
Ooh,
linguistics and computer science. And then I switched again to computer science and philosophy. And now I'm considering journalism.
that's a cool, interesting few like choice of majors. That's so cool.
Thank you.
Like, have how many like philosophy classes have you taken? Like, how do you like that?
None, honestly. I haven't taken, because this is only my second semester, so I've been doing like core classes,
Oh yeah.
and I don't know what I want to kind of go into.
Yeah,
So that's what's kind of making it hard.
that's that's so cool, honestly. How'd you end up finding Mr. Bartlett's class?
Um, I think I was looking through the document they give us about all the different options for our honors courses,
Yeah.
and kind of going through it, I noticed that one was about racism, and it just clicked instantly because that's something that. So last semester, right, I was in a different honors class, and I said some pretty stupid things about race, just because I had no idea what I was talking about. And I was like, if people just forgot about race, then things would be okay. Um, Obviously, that's not the case because the systems put in place make it so that's impossible. Um, so, yeah, that's kind of why I found the class and I was like, okay, this is the perfect opportunity to
Yeah.
kind of
To sort of
get.
dive into something and explore. I feel that. Like, I know that I definitely had like a few points like that as well before joining the class.
Yeah.
And like afterwards, like, damn, that's that's actually kind of everything's there to make it about race. And
Exactly.
ugh, it's it's honestly a lot. All right, let's see. What else do we have? What did you expect coming in?
What did I expect coming in? I had honestly, I had no expectations. I was kind of coming in as a blank slate. I was like, okay, I have no idea what this is going to entail, but I hope it's good. I just tried to keep an open mind.
Nice. I was
Hmm.
gonna say, I pretty much joined as well and just like, oh yeah, let's try. Let's see what's going on. All right.
Exactly.
Let's see. We have a whole bunch of questions and I want to get to like some of the big ones and some of the small ones. I guess this one's a pretty good buffer one. It's like how has the events of 2020, the pandemic, the activism, the election, how have they shaped your perception of racism and anti-racism currently where we are now?
That's an interesting question. This year has been quite the year to say the least, but it's gotten me thinking about what minorities might be facing in specific, because people of color might be facing even worse circumstances because of the pandemic than white people, for instance.
Definitely.
So I feel like it's made being an anti-racist and it's made um, addressing racism even more important at this point because even more lives are at stake now.
Yeah, I feel that's very like very in depth. And how would you describe your relationship with all these issues at Ball State?
As in the issues taking place in Ball State.
Yeah, like let's say recently we had before we all left, we had all those like Trump trucks going up
Hmm.
and down and just being a nuisance. Like, how did that stuff sort of affect you?
So luckily, I live off campus, but So I first found out about that from a group that I'm on called like Students of Color Caring for Each Other, or something like that, which is Ball State, a Ball State group. And people started talking about, okay, there are these Trump caravans going around and people are getting rear-ended and people might have weapons. And I was like, what on earth is going on? And it was so petty. And that's what you get when you say, stand down and stand ready, or whatever Trump said. Like, I was expecting that to happen.
Like it seems to throw everything into this sort of like Mad Max universe where everything is dangerous and everything has to be like such a big ball of stress going on in your head. Okay, let's go back
Exactly.
a few years. And what was your hometown or neighborhood like?
What was my hometown neighborhood like? Um, so I lived in Cairo, which is basically suburban jungle type thing, right? Imagine New York, just less people and less developed.
Okay.
um, yeah, so in Egypt, there aren't many like trees or greenery in general because a lot of it is a desert. Um, so my neighborhood was just a bunch of tall buildings.
Yeah, because I was gonna ask, like, did you come to Ball State directly from Egypt, or did you move, I guess, to the US like beforehand?
So it's actually a bit complicated for me because I was in Egypt and then I moved from Egypt to Kuwait and then I moved from Kuwait to the US and Ball State.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
That was that all in like a very short amount of time, or
I would say so. So I moved to Kuwait when I was like 14 or 15, and then I moved to Ball State or the US here when I was maybe
yeah,
18. Yeah.
wow, that's so
So
cool. It's some,
3.
yeah, it's something that we don't usually think about. What did you think about race growing up?
I It's so weird because I had no idea what race was basically as a kid, for which is the case for many kids, I think. Um, but yeah, as I grew up, I kind of started to find out that there's this thing called racism and that it's horrible and that it makes no sense whatsoever. But that's really all I know about it, or all I knew.
Yeah, I feel like us in particular, coming from places like not directly in the US, we didn't, I guess, suffer through a lot of those things when we were growing up because we had not necessarily one like type of people, but we were all like sort of in the same boat. Like we were all from this place, and it didn't matter what we looked like or what we did. It was just okay, you're Puerto Rican or like you're this, you're that. Where it was just,
Exactly.
okay, everyone's the same. Like it didn't really matter.
Yeah, exactly.
So I know you said that it was when you first started growing up, but was there any sort of moment where you started like thinking about race or seeing yourself like in a race, I guess?
Um, Interestingly enough, I literally just remembered kind of when that happened. So as a kid, I got the opportunity to travel to the US because my uncle lives here. So I got the opportunity to come and visit him. And I think the very, very first moment I felt like, okay, I'm different, is probably in the airport when I had to like say my name because my name isn't a typical name you'd find here. And it makes it super clear that I'm different. So that's when it kind of hit me like, oh, people can be different. Okay.
People are, you know, they're different. That, yeah, I feel that.
People aren't all people, apparently.
Yeah,
Or
not everyone is one, I guess.
exactly.
How do your other identities or social positions, like your gender, class, region, religion, shape your experience, sort of, with race?
Okay, wow. That's
That one's a
I'll
big one.
unpack. It is good. Um, when it comes to gender, we covered intersectionality in class, and that kind of shed some light on like what women would face, and then what women of color would face. So it kind of, I know that I'm a little more privileged to be a male rather than a female in this world, which it's not very, like, hopefully that changes.
Yeah.
But that definitely contributes to it. And it's thanks to this class that I actually realized that that was a thing, right? Because I had heard of like the wage gap and whatever, but again, I had no idea, and I had no like working examples that I could see up until that point. My other religion, so let me think for a second. When it comes to region, I think region is a very big part, because since I'm not from here, I have a really weird relationship with racism. I've found out that I thought surprisingly like a white person to some extent. Like the themes of white supremacy were somehow in my head because of how widespread and global American culture had become at that point. So the stereotypes for different groups of people, they were in my head, right? Even though I wasn't aware of that until I was here, which is so crazy.
That just like hit me too, because I have a very similar experience with that, and it hit hard. Have you witnessed or experienced any racism, let's say in your childhood versus coming here?
Childhood, no, because
Yeah,
yeah.
you didn't grow
Since
with
coming
that.
here, I did meet this one kid, right, a few months ago. He had some pretty bad anxiety, I could tell, but it seemed like it was entirely centered around the fact that he was Asian. Like, because I wasn't American per se, right? Even though I speak good English, he could tell that I was an American, and like, okay, my name's Karim, I'm from Egypt. So he kind of shared with me that he was having issues finding friends, but he was so terrified of trying to look for friends because he didn't want to get made fun of, or like just because of he's Asian, right? He didn't want to encounter any racism because he was Asian. Apparently, he had faced that before. So that kind of brought the issue close to home for me. And then from that point, it was sort of just focusing on my own little interactions with people. A big thing for me is when I say my name to people, it really makes it stand out that I'm different, right? Because it's one of the really unusual names that you wouldn't find other than with an Arab person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sort of creates, I guess, a little pocket of anxiety every time, where it's like, what are they gonna think afterwards? Like, because
Exactly.
we can't control what goes on in people's heads, and sometimes it's not even
Exactly.
in a negative way, but they immediately create ties to you that may or may not be true,
Exactly.
and it's not fun. It can't be nice.
It
I know
isn't.
that you aren't on campus, but I'm hoping that maybe through like the group that you were in, you'd have some experience. But do you think that Ball State does a good job of creating a sort of belonging environment?
So one thing that I found really interesting, and also just good for the entire anti-racism movement, is the fact that Ball State had, I mean, they called them the Big Four, right? The Latinx Club and the Black Student Association, and then there's AASA, the Asian American Student Association, and there's one more. I can't. There's a big three. I'm not entirely sure, but those are like they call them the big three or the big four because of how they're pretty much the biggest clubs on campus or student associations, right? So I feel like that is a really, really important aspect of having sort of community of belonging in Ball State. But at the same time, those existing doesn't change the fact that Ball State is predominantly white, and that if you look around, you're more likely to find a white person than a person of color.
Yeah.
So if you're not at an AASA event, for example, then you're still kind of in the wild, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And it sort of also comes back to, I guess, something that we've discussed in class, where it's like we still sort of marginalize groups, even though it isn't intentionally. Like we have all these clubs, and it's for strengthening like these cultures, and so that these people always feel included, but they look for them because they don't feel included in other things. And just the existence of these clubs, it's very healthy for our campus, but still it is predominantly white. And the fact that we need to call, I guess, on the help of the big three to deal with the racism at Ball State, instead of, I guess, let's say, higher ups, which they've been doing a very good job. Like they've been doing a good job of staying up to date with everything and keeping everyone safe. But the fact that we remember more the big three instead of the, I guess, our school system, I guess, speaks a lot to that as well.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Actually, so remember how there was this talkback event December 3rd for honors, where the honors,
Oh yeah.
yeah, the HCDP set up this like conversation between faculty, and Dean Emmert was there and everything. And I wasn't there, but apparently what happened was they gave a lot of really good suggestions about changes that should be made to increase diversity and to kind of deal with events like the Trump Caravan in specific. And the student that was there, so this was in class this morning, she was talking about what happened, and she said that it seemed like Dean Emmert was going to try to pass it up, right? But that not much was going to be done. And then Dr. Bartlett also agreed with that. It seemed like it's good progress, but at the same time, it seems like not much is going to be done.
Yeah, like they get off sort of in the sense of, oh yeah, we're listening, but they don't act on it. Like they listen, they take all the suggestions, they make us like feel like we're being heard, and then the actual, progress isn't as much. So I don't know. It feels a little shallow sometimes, but
So true.
sometimes we gotta take what we can get. Sad, it sucks, but we have to deal with what we can get.
The little wins.
The little wins are what count. They'll build up at some point, and then we'll get a nice joint victory.
I really hope so.
What has this course meant to you personally?
What it's meant to me changed over time. And first, it was like kind of realizing how little I know and how blind I am. And then it changed to realizing the extent of that. Like the more I learned, the more I found out how little I knew. And the more I learned about the challenges people face, the more it became an issue that was a big concern to me, and the more it became an issue that I really couldn't stand, right? Unfortunately, COVID is a thing, which makes a lot of like raising awareness difficult. But yeah, and then as the course kind of went on, at no point did I think, oh, I'm an expert on race now. I still don't think that. Like, there's so much I don't know, and there's always this looming threat of like, maybe I might say something wrong, or maybe I might hurt someone's feelings or something, right? And what the course has taught me is that it's fine, as long as, I mean, first of all, you're not doing it on purpose. Second of all, as long as you're trying to learn and you realize it and you fix it, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, I said this, I'm sorry, I wasn't aware at the time, but now I get it.
Yeah. And the fact that you can have that consciousness of like, I'm scared to say something wrong is also, I think, something very like great that this class has given us.
Oh yeah, for
I
sure.
know I like, it's not that I took dark humor that far, but I've known people that have taken it that far and they are unapologetic about it. And I know
Hmm.
that sometimes like I need to think twice. And it's grown to that point where it's like I don't think I feel comfortable with doing it anymore. And
Yeah,
I'm really glad that it's created that change.
I can relate to that because my friends were also really into dark humor, and me to some extent as well. And what I figured out is that people are okay with dark humor because they don't know the extent of what they're actually making fun of, right? So it's again actually a part of white privilege because you have the privilege not to know about all of these things that are happening, and so you have the privilege to even joke about them,
Yeah.
right?
It's like
It's
you have the ability to educate yourself, yet you decide not to. You are
exactly,
privileged enough to not have to go ahead and learn about all this, so you can still just feel nothing when you talk about it, I guess.
exactly.
It's incredible.
But then
What?
you realize, oh, sorry.
No, go for it. Like, I want you to finish that. Yeah.
Um, then you realize how much like people are suffering, and then, as you said, it's not okay anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It, it really gets to thinking about how we stand and what we decide to just
Mm.
like learn or not learn. Like, I know that this example doesn't really like connect much, but my dad is a person that anytime he gets really into something, he researches it. Like, may it be bikes, may it be building anything, may it be like skateboarding. He goes and does his research. Like this whole COVID thing, he's done a lot of his research. And when you look at that and then try to apply it to these concepts of like race and all these like economic and social problems, it sort of shows you that as a people we are very materialistic. We worry only about what's for us. We're very individualistic. Like we care about what we want to learn and not what
Okay.
we can learn to help others. And that was a really crazy
It's
thing that came in out of nowhere. What do you think it means to be anti-racist?
what do I think it means to be anti-racist? Um, it means to stand up whenever you see something racist happening, from a microaggression to someone being blatantly racist. Um, let me know if you can't hear me properly because my internet connection is apparently unstable.
Yeah, I can
But
hear you. Sometimes your
it
camera goes a
means
little.
that if you hear someone, I'm not going to say someone, but if you hear your family or friends talking about um, race with ignorance, oh, sorry, you're kind of frozen too, and you're kind of cutting out.
Yeah, like we're it's coming back now, but it's sometimes the camera goes a little wonky, but I can still hear you.
Yeah, sometimes you cut out completely, so I'm not sure of
Yeah.
what you said
But
entirely. Yeah. Okay, so where are we at?
you're good.
Okay, can you all good?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. Okay. Um, so do you want me to repeat anything? Because you're recording, so I'm not sure
Yeah,
what you
do
got.
you mind repeating that last bit that you just said?
Okay. So what it means to be anti-racist is if your friends or if your family are talking about race with ignorance, it's your job to find a way to get the point across that okay, here's the actual truth without it seeming like you're being annoying or something like that because you don't want to you don't want people to think of race as something negative, like oh this person is pestering me about race, and then they associate race with something negative. So you really have to be careful with how you approach race. um, a really good example of this, I just remembered. So I was in this colloquium for economics and entrepreneurship and whatever, and we were just talking about these readings and everything. And this one guy, he was a white male, and this one guy, he says something along the lines of he doesn't think reparations are a good idea, and he thinks that banks shouldn't have to give loans if they don't want to give loans. That was his argument, right? That he was like, if someone doesn't want to give a loan, if someone doesn't want to give money, then they shouldn't have to. And I kind of read in between the lines that what he was getting at there. So what I said to him, I was trying to be as nice as possible. So I wasn't taking the stance that, okay, no, you're wrong, because then you're attacking the person, and that's not I'm gonna get you where you need to be.
Shut down.
Exactly. So I was like, okay, hypothetically, right? I'm just gonna share this point of view with you, and you can think about it, right? If the people that supposedly you don't want to give them what is yours, if those people, what if those people actually had that before or didn't even get a chance to have that? And so you took it from them, and rather it's not giving them something you own, it's giving them something back that you took from them, right? Even though I tried to be really nice, he he kind of got mad, which is understandable, but yeah.
Yeah. It's just trying to argue, because that's the whole thing. Sometimes people don't want to make it about race. Sometimes people have the thought, and they have the the having to read between the lines bit that you said, but they don't want to talk about it through race. They would rather you try and make it about, oh, economics. They're trying to tell you, oh, what's the evidence, to try to disprove that sometimes it is about race. That sometimes, oh, and maybe this isn't what he thinks, but like certain people that come from certain places have done certain things and they don't deserve a loan. And I don't think that he sees it like, oh, you're just giving something back. It's like, I don't know. Maybe he thinks that they're leeching off, I guess. And maybe he
Yeah.
doesn't acknowledge it, but maybe that's what's happening. But I don't know. I'm in my own head, and sadly, again, we can't control what people think or like read people's thoughts.
Like, I get why they think the way they think, because it is a statement against their convenience and their comfort. And so I get why someone would be like, I want my comfort, I want my convenience subconsciously. But then you realize the gravity of the situation and the fact that people's lives are at stake, and
Exactly.
your convenience isn't as important.
Exactly. That your comfort and convenience is coming at, the sake of other people, and the majority rules, I guess. Whatever is best for the majority is what is universally the best good. It's what's the most good. What did you learn that changed your perspective the most, at least?
Okay, freshness, right? Remember that reading from Kendi where he starts talking about being fresh and freshness, and how he took care of his sneakers, for example, he and his friends, or he put on two socks and then bent the sock so that you don't get that crease when you walk. And it was that kind of attire was described as like jail attire. That was the actual word, jail attire, that people use in the book, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what I kind of realized is that whole concept of freshness, that extreme care and to what they were wearing, to the point where they were making it was all very deliberate. It was all very immaculate as well. It was all done on purpose as a statement of cultural representation and kind of going against the oppression that was there, right? That was their way of saying, look at us, we're awesome.
Yeah.
um, I thought that was a very beautiful concept.
I like that. That was,
So it kind
yeah, like, being
of,
deliberate about everything, like staying to
mhm.
it.
um, yeah, that kind of made me. So like racism before was like, okay, I hate racism because it makes no sense and it's horrible and it's affecting all these people. But now it kind of added a layer of these people are beautiful and we're all beautiful people. So racism is affecting people who really, really don't deserve such hatred when their culture is so beautiful.
Exactly. Like we're all, oh God, I'm gonna sound like a hippie, but we are all sort of like, we're all beings of the same like place. Like we all come from the same planet. And
Mm,
what's the point of sort of mistreating another race which is like the same as you? Like they have everything the same as you. The only thing that's different is where they were born, what like what books they read as a kid, what clothes they wore, like the friends they had. That's the only difference that separates us and them, I guess. And that difference is something that should be celebrated and not like split. We should celebrate the fact that we're different. Like me and you're from Egypt, I'm from Puerto Rico, and we're completely different. Like we are completely different people, yet we're here standing, speaking the same language and sharing experiences. Like
exactly.
that is just incredible to think that there's people that refuse to do that.
It's I mean,
Look,
this is like a fun experience, right? Being
yeah,
able to share with someone and kind of get their point of view. So seeing people just reject such a beautiful concept is almost feel bad for them.
yeah. It's sort of, and it hurts to a certain extent, not even to me, but to just the general. Like it's just why would you block yourself of such amazing knowledge? And it doesn't even have to be the most groundbreaking thing ever. Like
Hmm.
when you told me that you moved from where you were born to another place and then to Ball State, I was like, that is so amazing. Like he's had a journey. Like it's not like he's had a life, I guess. Like I know that that's not the right way to word it, but like he's had what I've had. Like he's had all these experiences. He's had all these 18, 19 years of life that I've had in a different place. And he's had completely different experiences and he's seen completely different things than I have. He's seen a completely different like climate, completely different like ecosystem. Like he's seen another part of the world from me. Yet
Hmm.
we're sitting here like real time talking. And
Exactly.
that is amazing.
That is amazing.
And I don't know. It's so cool, and it sucks that people don't want to see it like that.
It's like so nice. Like it's like trying to introduce someone to your favorite TV show, right? And you're like, "Believe it, it's so good. Just give it a shot."
Exactly. You're trying to like explain it to them. Like you're explaining the world of the show to them, and that's sort of what sharing culture is. It's like you're sharing your world to them.
Exactly.
I don't know. I think it's really wholesome. I think it's amazing, and it sucks that people don't see it like that. That it's like,
Exactly.
oh, illegal aliens. Ooh, it's it's so annoying. It sucks, but we'll get there someday.
Hopefully, yeah,
Hopefully, we'll get there someday, and maybe it'll all go away at some point.
it's possible. It'll happen. It's just a matter
It'll
of
it'll work at some point. Maybe we won't be here for it, but hopefully, it'll all work out,
yeah.
and it'll be good. Honestly, I like this, and I don't really have any other questions that I'd like to ask because most of them are like on campus experiences and all that. But do you have anything else that like you want to say or anything that you want to ask?
Um, just thank you. This was a great interview.
Yeah, I well, thank you so much for your time. It was really a lot of fun, and I'm not gonna lie to you. I in my head it was gonna go like a completely different route, and I'm really happy that it like went the way it did.
It's
So
really natural.
yeah, it really, again, both talkative people, it worked out.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, hopefully I'll see you soon again in class, and have a nice day.
You too.